does it more for me than some other shapes that we might take. And I'm going to ask you just to settle into your seat, and what we'll work on is a little bit of centering. So let's see what our baseline is at this moment. Let's just check in and see the state of your mind. Is it racing? Heart rate? How does the body feel? Is it gripping or tense anywhere, or do you feel fairly relaxed and comfortable? Just take a moment to check in and see what our starting point is. Tuning into what the breath is doing, what it feels like in this moment. Is it short and choppy, smooth and even? Is one part of the breath easier than another, like the inhalation or the exhalation? Now that we've checked in, gotten a little bit of a sense of our starting point, I'm going to encourage you, if it's available, to do alternate nostril breathing. So a reminder of how that works. We'll take our right hand and we'll use our thumb and then our pinky and ring finger. So we start with the thumb and we close the right nostril, and we'll breathe in through the left. And then close the left with the pinky and ring, exhale through the right. So you let go of the thumb there. And before you move on, inhale again. And switch. And what you may notice as you start this is that one side of your nose is clearer or more open than the other. I have a box of Kleenexes if anyone needs one. Anyone? Yeah. I know, you find out, oh goodness, I do need one. Okay. And what that is doing is showing you what side of the brain might be less open right now than the other. And so we're bringing balance to the two sides of the two hemispheres of the brains and the brain and the resulting nadis that move up and down channels of energy. You may also notice that the breath slows down quite a lot. It's like breathing through a straw. The entrance is smaller, so it's a longer, slower breath in and out. And on your next exhalation, just let your hands rest somewhere comfortable on your lap or your legs, and breathe naturally. And we'll tune in again. What does the physical body feel like? How is your natural breath expressing right now? What's the state of your mind? You're jumping like a jumping bean. Is it a little clarified or quiet? There's no right or wrong, we're just noticing. When you're ready, bringing your hands somewhere to the front body. Just resting them on your heart, your solar plexus, your belly, if that feels good. Just feeling, witnessing underneath your hands what's going on. And when you're ready, we'll open the eyes. So through that process, how was alternate breathing for you? Did it help you quiet a little bit? No, was were you distracted by the mechanics of it?
No, I like it. It's what?
Like, I feel like clogged or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, so this morning I was doing alternate nostril breathing and one nostril was really, I didn't know, but I was breathing with both of them, but when I singled them out, I did notice that too. It's a little clearer as I sit down to it now, but it can be, and that's okay, we're just noticing it. But in the process, you're paying attention, right?
Mhm, okay.
So that's the purpose of alternate nostril breathing, is to hone your attention. So even if it didn't feel completely comfortable, which it often doesn't for some of us, it does, it's serving your purpose and it's bringing balance to the hemispheres. So that's why we do it. Anyone else? Did you like it, not like it? Yeah. I like this one. Depending on what I call a DEF CON, depending on what high alert I'm on, I'll use different breathing techniques. If I'm just feeling a little scattered, this is one that really helps rein me in usually. But on the way here, I was doing this one. What was the longer part? The exhalation. It's because my energy was like this, and I needed to exhale. If you're really sluggish, you might focus more on getting a big breath in. So the breath is such a great tool for us. And since we're really working right now on centering with the changing times, by the way, change your cross if you were seated in cross-legged. With all the turbulence, whether it's change you like or change you don't like, it's all destabilizing, right? Change is unsettling to us. And so our goal then is to keep right here at that centered, calm place so that we have a little better perspective. And the way I like to, a friend of mine once described it as, if I had this cup of water and I put a tablespoon of salt in it, stirred it up. Ugh, it really tastes bad, right? But if I put that same tablespoon of water in a big lake, I wouldn't even notice it. And when we tap into our center, we're tapping into the big lake. Does that make sense? It's not just this little mind frantically doing its thing. Oh, it's a big centering place. You're tapped in, up and down. So that is what we're doing when we practice our centering. So that'll be our focus through today, is whatever movements we're doing, to really stay present and anchored in our center. And so if a practice that I'm doing is physically challenging you too much and you're not breathing deeply or you're in discomfort, we're going to back it off and change it a little bit so that you can stay in that place where I'm able to be present and not distracted by what's happening in my body as much as I can. Okay? So if ever during class you're not sure how to adjust something and I haven't given you an option, just catch my eye and we'll work it out, okay? Alrighty, so we are going to come onto our backs with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Would you, before you get down on the ground, make sure you have your strap within reach, please? All right. Let's come on down to our back And first thing I'm gonna ask you to do is just tune in, what does your body want when you get on your back? For me, always, I want to take my hips side to side a little bit. Some of us like to draw our knees into the chest. That feels really good as a way to just open the creaky places. So I'm gonna urge you to just tune into, what does your body want today as you come into this new shape. I like to take one knee at a time down towards the ground. Maybe you stretch, maybe one big stretch long is what your body wants. So go ahead and listen in, and then we'll all find our way to that bent knee, feet flat on the floor. And if you would, take your fingertips to your frontal hip bones, the ones that are facing up to the sky. All right, so we're just going to bring in a little bit of movement to our low back, which is one of the places in our body, because it's the juncture between the lower torso and the upper torso. It's the big place that takes a lot of our impact. And it gets really, the fascia, the connective tissue just starts to lock down. So we're gonna get a little blood flow in there by taking the hip bones and rolling them up towards the ribs. Notice how that lifts your tailbone off the floor. You feel that? Yeah. And then roll the hip points the other direction down toward your thighs. And so back and forth, just gently exploring this range of motion. Again, making sure you stay in a place that's comfortable, even while you notice some sensations. Those aren't painful sensations. So if you've gone into pain, you know you went a little too far in your range of motion. Good. And then just let the hip points face up to the sky. And let's take, here I should have told you I also have a block. Let's take a block and put it between our knees so that the shortest edge of the block is horizontal with the floor. So it looks like this. If you want to glance my way, it'll be like that between the thighs. Okay, so let's gently imagine the outer hips drawing to the midline. And when you're not even really moving anything, notice how it causes you to grab the block a little bit, right? Okay, so release. And let's put the block right up in the thighs, here. Here like this. I'm gonna show it this way just so you can see it like this. Okay, right up in the thighs. All right, there we go. So imagine your sitting bones drawing together. Imagine your outer hips drawing to the midline. And then just imagine the thighs rolling inward a little. So you feel how you're hugging the block now? So your inner thighs are working. You might feel your pelvic floor lifting up into the body. That's a subtlety that you might not have paid attention to, but that is one of the actions that occurs when we do this. All right, so just relax for a moment and notice the difference. All right, so now let's think of the sitting bones drawing together, the outer hips drawing together, and the outer thighs rolling slightly towards the inner thighs. And then feel what happens where you start to wake up, where the pelvic floor lifts into the body. And now I'm going to ask you to place your hands on your low belly and imagine drawing your low belly up and into the body. So towards the floor and up towards the navel. You feel that activation under your hands? You probably feel your oblique muscles too. So if you now move your hands up a little bit so that the heels of your hands are on the outsides of your ribs and your fingers are inward, imagine knitting your fingers together by contracting your abdominal muscles. So I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot of activation just from this subtle movement. Anybody else? Okay, good. And release. So this core activation is going to be an important part of how we support ourselves so that we can stay centered physically, which keeps our nervous system in greater balance and helps us, our whole system, to stay centered too. All right, so you can just relax a little bit. Beautiful. All righty, and now you can set your block aside. And what we'll do is we'll take our hands down to the floor, down by the hips, And reach one hand way down towards your heels and then the other hand down to the heels. And then you might roll your shoulders side to side and just feel the backs of your shoulders firmly on the floor. Everybody there? Okay, good. And now let's really focus on drawing the navel up into the body again, knitting the ribs. Good. Feel the activation? Now I'm gonna also ask you to turn the hip bones up towards the ribs. So there's that lifting of the tailbone again, right? Do you feel that? Now press through the hands, shoulders, and feet, and just barely whisper your tailbone up off the floor a little more. So just the bottom of your pelvis is lifted off the floor. Who feels that? And now just hover up another like centimeter. And if you're feeling any pressure on the knees, walk the feet away just a little bit more. And maybe come up another centimeter. Good. And then lift up another centimeter. Everybody knows centimeters, right? So, okay. And then up. It's about 1/3 of an inch. And then lift the hips up as high as they'll go today. And we're going to notice, did you lose the integration of your core? Probably, as soon as we lift it up. So let's engage the muscles of the core again. Now you're probably feeling your upper gluteal muscles. So that's that space between the low back and the upper buttocks. That's your upper gluteals, and they're weak for most of us because we sit so much in our culture. You might notice your outer hips working, your inner thighs working, even your hamstring muscles working. And slowly lower down, take the feet apart, let the knees fall into each other, and just rest for a moment. Is your body able to come to that quieting place again, like we did in our original centering? Is the breath smooth and even? Are you able to release any gripping in the body? Just invite that, even if it's not perfectly happening in this moment, just invite towards letting go. When I could stay here the rest of class, but we're gonna do that again, the whole series with our core. So we'll bring the hands down by the hips, feel the upper shoulders, upper arms in connection with the earth. And then draw the core in. And just lift the hips up. This time, don't worry about taking the tailbone up, but just lift the hips just barely off. So do you really feel your low abdominals working when you're here? And now press up again. Press up some more. And go to the place that's most comfortable in this bridge pose for you. Keeping the integration of your core. And lower down. So we're gonna lift and lower about 8 more times. Inhale, and as you exhale, lift all the way up. Inhale down. Exhale up. So at your pace, because we all breathe at different paces, right? And then let's hold the hips up. Imagine the block between the thighs, the outer hips drawing to the midline, the front belly reaching towards the spine. And we'll hold this for a little while, building some strength. And lower down. And would you draw your knees into the chest for a moment? And just release the back. Maybe roll side to side, back and forth slowly, just massaging out the low back a little bit. And now we'll take the left foot to the floor and we'll grab that strap that we planned to have within reach. And we'll bring the strap just below the ball of the foot here. Okay? And then take a big deep breath in, and as you exhale, lift the heel up towards the sky. And let's hold on to the strap with straight arms and let the shoulders relax down the back. There we go. Good. Now, chances are your leg is bent. So if your leg is bent, I'm going to ask you to take the foot away from you a little bit and then push out through the heel to straighten the leg. So it doesn't matter how far your leg comes in. We're in this moment going to try to open the back of the knee. So you'll feel this in your hamstring muscles, which originate at your sitting bone, and then they attach in several places behind the knee here. So you might be feeling that in the knee, right? You might be feeling it in the belly of the muscle or up near the hip sitting bone. So now let's point the toes away. Really point the toes away. Feel that stretch across the top of your foot? And now flex the foot so the toes reach towards you. Ooh, big stretch down in the back of the calf. All right, a couple more times. Point away. And flex. Stretch the top of the foot. This is a season where our shoes are always on, or boots or our shoes. And so we really want to open up the muscles of the tops of the feet and the back of the Achilles. So they get kind of held in place, frozen. All right, and now we're just going to flex the foot strongly towards the body and spread the toes wide. How's that feel? Is the hamstring less loudly talking to you than when you first brought it here? It's been here for a little while, right? So maybe we can intensify it a little bit by straightening the left leg along the floor. There we go. Ooh, I feel more stretch. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, so seeing if you can stay in that place where the body is ready to release. We're not gripping anywhere because we're just on this side, on the happy side of discomfort, the edge of discomfort. Good. All right, now let's take the strap into the right hand and take the left hand to the floor. And I'm going to ask you again to push the left thigh bone to the floor, reach through the left heel. So we're using that left leg to ground. And then let's use our core muscles again. Those actions are going to keep our hips fixed right where they are as we bring our right leg just a few inches to the right and then back to center. A few inches to the right, maybe a little further this time, and then bring the foot back over the hip. And then we're going to take that right leg out to the right as far as it wants to go. And I'm taking my upper right arm on the floor just for a little foundation. And I'm feeling the pelvis still affixed to the floor. Now, if you feel at all any tension in your sacrum at all, you could put a blanket on the outside of that right hip, a block or a blanket, just so that you have a little support. And not all of us will need it, but it's available. A little more comfortable. How's that feel? Who feels the left side of the pelvis wanting to lift off the floor, right? Yeah. So use your core, use your left leg to keep the leg grounded. All right. This is a tight place for most of us. Anyone feeling this one? Yeah. Okay. Oh, when you're ready, let's bring the leg back up. And now we're going to take the strap into the left hand and the right hand down to the floor out from the shoulder. This is going to give us a little bit of ballast because we're going to roll the thigh bone strongly inward So it's like try to take your big toe and point it to the left. You feel that? But it's not the ankle turning, it's the whole thigh bone turning. And now reach up through the outside of your heel. Do you feel a stretch already? On the outside of perhaps your ankle, maybe your outer hip? Cross the foot over just a few inches and see how this feels. Are you starting to feel that stretch? Okay, that's your iliotibial band. Extends from the hip down to the knee, then follows the peroneals down to the sole of your foot. So we'll just give that a moment to open. Breathing. And then we'll continue crossing over. Now the right side of your pelvis will come off the floor as we cross the leg over the body. Now, you're welcome to bend the knee. For some of us, that feels more comfortable on the back or the outer hip. So feel free to straighten or bend the leg, whichever feels more suitable to you today. Now your right palm is probably facing the ground, right? I'm gonna ask you to turn the palm up to the sky for a moment and just see what that feels like. Did that change your stretch to your chest at all? Maybe, maybe not. And then turn the palm down and see what happens. Okay. All right, let's bend the right leg and roll onto the back. And just for a moment, just set your strap on your belly and stretch your feet and your hands away from each other for a moment. And this is a funny thing, I'm gonna ask you to, with your hands and feet stretched away from each other, lift your right hip up to your right ear and then down. And then your left hip up and down. And so kind of swing your hips like a pendulum side to side for a moment. Where again, just kind of getting some movement in that low back. Might feel it in your front belly too. Okay, so let's bring the arms down. Bend the right leg and place the right foot on the floor. Hug the left knee into the chest, and here we go, we're gonna lasso that foot. So when you're ready, take a big deep breath in, and as you exhale, reach the heel up to the sky. Oh, I found my tighter side. Anyone else? Okay, so my foot is further away this time so that I can straighten the leg entirely. If I bring my foot too close, I have to have my knee bent. But if I can bring it away a little bit, I can open the back of the knee. So that's what we're gonna aim for. Good, and here we go again, we're gonna do a little pointing and flexing. So point the toes away, stretch the tops of the feet, that foot up there, and then flex. Pointing, flexing. Whose toes start to cramp when you do this? Anyone else? Sometimes the arches, the toes. Okay, and then we'll all end together with the foot deeply flexed. We're holding onto the strap with straight arms, shoulders relaxed to the floor. Excellent. We're scanning the body one more time to notice, are there places that are holding tension that don't need to? So for instance, you might be grimacing. You might be pressing your tongue into the roof of the mouth and causing tension in your throat. All right, so let's invite softness wherever softness can exist. And when you're ready, we'll extend through the right leg. And yes, we'll find a little more intensity, right? And when you're ready, we'll bring the step strap into the left hand. We'll press through the right thigh bone, draw in the core, and then just explore that movement with the left leg out to the left. And then back to the hip, in line with the hip. Back and forth a few times, inviting the body to explore this range of motion. And when you're ready, just letting that leg come out as far as it wants to go today. Giving yourself a little support if that feels suitable today. So when I first come into this, my leg is higher. And I can feel the whole hip joint kind of just holding a little bit. And as I'm there a little while, it just sort of lets go and releases. And that's what we want to invite. It's just as much as it's ready to release, letting it go. And when you're ready, inhaling the leg up, bringing the strap into the opposite hand. We'll bring the right arm out from the shoulder, or excuse me, left arm out from the shoulder. Roll the thigh bone strongly inward and reach up through your outer heel. Ooh, I feel my IT more on this side. Anyone else? Does anyone not feel anything at all when they do that internal rotation? Okay, all right. Well, you might be lucky, or you might not be doing the turn in as much as we would like to access that little stretch. All right, let's explore crossing the leg over a little more, until finally the left side of the pelvis does lift up off the floor and cross on over. And you can play with your hand position and see where you get the most stretch and where you need it most. So the hand can be up or down, depending on what your body needs today. And then we'll bend the leg, roll onto the back. All right, good. And we just for a moment, bend both knees, take the feet apart, and once more, let the knees fall in towards each other. Or if you want something else, maybe your body wants to relax in another way. Maybe you want to hold on to your feet in happy baby, or hug both knees into the chest. So this is an invitation to take the pause that your body needs. All right, good. And before we move on, I'm going to have us do Upavista Prasarita Padottanasana. And that's that one that we often call up. So we'll take the block between our thighs again. And then we'll bring the knees up over the hips. And if you like, you can grab your strap and take it to the balls of the feet. All right, so right now, my knees are quite bent. My hips are on the floor, my knees are roughly over the hips. And what I'm gonna ask us all to do is to think of the outer hips drawing to the midline again. The outer thighs rolling to inward to out of the block. And then we'll just kick the heels up any amount that's suitable for you today. And that may be completely straight or somewhat bent. But this is our variation of Upavista Prasarita Padottanasana. So a lot of nice things happen in this pose. We get to practice that activation of our core. We get to flush the circulatory system. We get to move our lymph, which needs either a reversal of gravity or the muscles contracting to make the lymph move. So here we get both of those happening. And if you found that sweet spot right before the edge crossing into discomfort, This can be quieting for the nervous system. All right, we'll slowly bend the knees, set the strap aside. Take the block and set it aside, and we'll roll on the side and gradually make our way up. Up to our feet. So take your time because our head's been down on the ground for a while. So give yourself a moment to transition. Maybe roll to the side, eventually upright. And then we'll make our way to our feet at our own. Oh, rats, I forgot to make you do core work on your belly. I guess we'll have to do it in another way today. Okay. All right, so we're gonna stand. And one last time, no, it won't be the last time. I'm making promises. And let's take the block between our thighs again for a moment. I just want you to feel it in a different orientation. So we were doing this on our backs before. What does it feel like this way? Now the pelvic floor is falling down to the floor, right? With gravity. So let's think again of the outer hips drawing to the midline and the outer thighs rolling in slightly. Okay, do you feel your low belly engaging? And do you feel the pelvic floor lift? Yeah, good. Okay, good. This is the solidity that we're inviting into our body. So this is called mountain pose that we're standing in right now. And so let's invoke the mountain and feel its solidity. And if it's comfortable to close your eyes, that will challenge your balance a little more. If you want to, you can just soften your gaze downward or close the eyes. Good. And I'll ask you to just take your hand to your heart for a moment, one hand, and just gently tap out your rhythm. And so I'm literally tapping on my chest, the rhythm that is mine today in this moment. Okay, so that's a reminder, no matter how fast the world is going around you, you get to come in and tune into your own rhythm. Okay. Okay, now we'll let the hands come down. We'll take the block and set it aside. Alrighty, so we're gonna do a little bit of work at the wall now. I'm gonna show this, I'm turning this just so Kate can see it now. There you go. All right, so here's what we'll do. I'm gonna take my arms up nice and wide and take them to the wall. And then I'm gonna bend my knees and walk away from the wall. And this is my hip crease. I'm just going to draw the hip crease away. And then I'll lift up. And away. And we'll do that several times. And we're going to start opening up our shoulder girdle and the pec minor. Yes, you're welcome. Or this is a really good spot right there. There's a nice wide wall to get to. And yeah, there we go. All right, excellent. So the first thing we're doing is just with your breath. And then the arms don't have to be super far apart. They can be wherever it's comfortable to you. So we'll inhale away from the wall, exhale, and just kind of melt the heart slightly towards the wall. And then away and towards the wall. A couple times, opening up the shoulder girdle. And then we'll just melt towards the wall. And while you're here, it's a good reminder to support your low back by drawing the core in. Breathing into those tight places. You might be finding some places that are tight in your shoulders or chest. And then push away from the wall and slide the hands down. So now we're going to take the arms in line with the shoulders out in front of us. So something like this, okay? If your hands or wrists give you trouble because of arthritis, feel free to do this on your forearm. It's hard because of this pretty molding. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set up what looks like a plank. And so I'm gonna walk my hands down below this board and walk my feet away. And here's a plank. And again, I could do that on my forearms. Or I could do it with my wrist at 90 degrees. Okay, so we're just for a moment setting up a plank, relaxing the shoulders down from the ears. Oh. If your bottom is out away from the wall like a tent, can you bring your hips forward? There we go. Ooh, now your core is working, right? Okay. Okay, and come out just for a moment. So I'm gonna show another alternative. For those of us for whom wrists are an issue, sometimes it feels better for the wrist to stay straight instead of bent. So I like to use a chair here. Okay, here's what I was talking about, the tent bottom. See my tent bottom? Now I'm a plank of wood, straight plank of wood. Okay, so would everybody try their plank? Feel free to try a chair. No, here, grab this one. What do you think? You want to try this a lower? Okay, great. Okay, so when you're in your plank, be mindful of whether your shoulders crept up around the ears. And if they did, can you soften them down? Otherwise, you're going to create a little tension that we don't need. So Vimala, can you lift your head? There we go, good. So the head wants to stay in line with the rest of the spine. Lorraine, you more. Now you're in a straight line. You feel the work? Okay, good. Excellent. And Emma, where are your ribs? Front ribs. Ah, there we go.
So fill out your back body right here.
There you go. That's it. And come out. And now we're gonna do a half down dog at the wall. So just fingertips on the wall. I'm gonna slide my hip crease away. I'm gonna draw the belly in again. Here's what some of us were doing. Do you see where my head broke the line of the spine? We want a nice straight line. So you can have the hands on the wall. You could use your chair. You could be up higher if this suits you. But let's lengthen the spine into a variation of a half down dog. Okay. Who feels that stretch? And your hamstrings might be getting a little stretch. Your knees can be as bent as they need to be or as straight. Your choice. Good. And come out. And then let's just stand for a moment in mountain pose. Just take a moment in your mountain and see if you can come to that place of centering again. Because we were doing a little series of movements here. And then the mind gets rattling and rolling. Excellent. Feel your feet on the earth. Feel the strength of your core and how it allows you to lift the heart up off of the pelvis. Excellent. Okay, good. So now you have options. I've shown two different options for this, right? We did at the wall. If I were using my chair for that breathing part, I might do something like this. Right, so I can use my chair or the wall for that. And then we come into whatever variation of plank. And then a variation of down dog. Now, if you like, I'm going to show a third option, and that's using our mat. So if your knees can bear this, not everybody's can. If your knees can bear this, I'm going to do a puppy on the floor. So here I am, relaxing my shoulders down, drawing my belly in, and breathing. And eventually folding the puppy. And then I might come into either a modified plank or a full plank. And then I'll come into my downward facing dog. Okay, so you can see there are lots of different ways to do this, at the wall, with a chair, or you could try the floor. Okay, so you do the series you like, starting with our variation of puppy. Using a chair, using the wall, whatever feels good to you today.
I can remember, so I'm gonna follow whatever you're gonna do.
I can do it, no, I'm gonna walk you through each one. Do you wanna do it at the wall or a chair?
Do it on the floor.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so if you're using the chair, bring your hands to the back of the chair. Bend your knees, everybody's gonna soften the hip crease away from their hands. Lengthen the body, there we go. How does this feel? Is your belly flopping to the floor, anybody? How about your ribs, are they flopping to the floor? Can you bring your belly into the body? Bring the front ribs towards the back body. There we go, we're stretching, elongating the spine. And now press through the hands, lift up, and we're gonna set up our plank. So you could use the sides of the chair. You can bring your hands forward if you're on the floor, shoulders down from the ears, drawing the belly and slide the hips forward. So this is a modified plank. And this is a full plank. So do the one that suits you today. That's really good, Emma. You got it. Yeah. Is that okay on your wrists, Carrie? Is that okay on your hand?
It is,
Okay,
yeah.
good. So you obviously practiced that because that was really strong. Good. And we're breathing, right? Breathing. And now, depending on what your body needs, you can come into a child's pose or downward facing dog. You can sit on your chair and just round forward if that feels good to you. Okay, so see what your body wants to do. Good. Nice long spine, Jean, that looks really good. Oh. Oh, and I see some people experimenting with bending and unbending the legs to see about strength, stretching the hamstring, maybe the calves, maybe you're walking your dog, pressing the heels to the floor. It's all fun, so experimenting and finding your way into your shape. And when you're ready, we're slowly going to walk our hands and feet together, slowly work out of whatever shape you were in. Take your time, remember, transitioning. And if your head has been below your heart, come up halfway and give yourself a moment to let your blood flow equalize. And then use the strength of the legs, push off the feet and slowly come up. Your time. Do it at your own pace and find your mountain pose. On that feel. All right, so in your mountain, let's tweak a little. Let's tweak. Let's roll to the fronts of the feet and the backs. And just feel when you're in each of these, does that feel balanced? Have I found my center place? Let's find the center so that your weight is evenly distributed front and back. Good. And then notice the soles of your feet inside, outside. Do they tend to turn in or out a little bit? Can you find balance between the inner edges of the foot and the outer? And when you do that, you might notice that the arches of your feet left. Good, and then we know what we're doing with our legs. We've got that internal rotation, that internal moving from outward to inward of the hips, core drawing into the body. And now this is your sternum right here. So let's imagine lifting the sternum up off of the beautiful support of our legs. Let's roll the arm bones in for a moment and then out. And then extend the hands down to the floor and just turn the palms in. Ah, how does that feel? And now where's your head in space? Bring it forward a minute and feel how that unbalances you, right? Now slide the base of the skull up and back until the crown of your head feels perched right over the middle of your heart. That's beautiful. Ah, now soften and relax into this shape. Excellent. All right, we're going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to ask you to turn so that you're facing the long width of your mat the way I am. Okay. Here's where chairs or blocks can be useful, but also we can use our legs. We're going to do a little bit of external rotation in our Warrior II series. So when we come apart, I want you to think about, if I asked you to step 1 foot out, which foot would you step out? Okay, so instead I'm gonna ask you to soften your knees, bring your hands to your heart, and step your opposite foot out. And then the other one. Okay, so this is making your brain do things in a slightly different way, right? Okay, yeah, we're creatures of habit, aren't we? All right, so now roll to the inner edges of your feet and then keep that connection, but also roll to the outer edges of the feet and feel how the outsides of the thighs wake up, the inner thighs wake up. And now remember the core. So we're drawing the hips to the center and the core up and into the body. The front ribs, for those of us who are flexible, you know who you are, draw the front ribs into the body. And when I do that, I'll tell you, this is how I know I do it habitually. Here, I was comfortable. When I drew that in, I felt it in my hip flexors. Okay. Okay, good. So now I usually turn to the right. So let's turn, where's your left? This way I'm mirroring you. So turn to the left, 1 foot out. There we go. So this whole leg turned out. Inhale, get nice and tall, use your core. Exhale, and let's bend that knee. There. How's that feel? So now straighten again, because I want to show you something. A lot of us, when we bend the knee, we tip over with it. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm exaggerating just so you can see it, but this is what a lot of us do. See how I am? So instead, don't move this at all and just take it along for the ride. Ah, that's different, right? And then sweep the hands down, turn the palms up, sweep like you're lifting a heavy cape, and then turn the palms down. There you go. You're in Warrior II, Warrior II. Who's feeling this today? Oh, am I feeling this today? Oh, good. Whose back foot is climbing away from the floor? Can you firm that back edge of the foot? And that's going to wake up this inner thigh. Ooh, subtleties, but we're present for it. Excellent. All right, straighten the leg, turn the foot forward, and now we're going to go the other direction. Remember, just taking the torso along for the ride as you bend into this shape here, the lunge. Okay. Now, if your arms or your shoulders or neck are tired, bring your hands to your hip. This works. Or down here, right? Okay. Now my knee is facing in the same direction as that foot that's turned out. Where's your belly button facing? Right now, my belly button's facing this way. Anybody else? Can you, as much as possible, turn the belly button away from the knee? Oh, I just woke up my inner thigh. Anybody else? Okay, good. Excellent. And straighten, turn both feet forward. And now just bring the heels together, toes together, heels together, toes together. Now, which foot wants to step together first? Bring the other one. Okay. Ah, that feels good. I woke some stuff up. How about you? All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna come into a wide leg stance, but we'll do we'll build off of that Warrior II stance into Utthita Parsvakonasana, extended side angle. So stepping off the other foot than you did last time. So we're switching off. So for me, I went with my right. So now instead of going to the left, we're gonna turn to the right. Really making your body go, what? Here. All right, inhale, exhale into the lunge. Turn the navel away and let's give our body a moment to be here and say, oh yes, I remember this shape. So we know that our body likes some repetition to help build the clarity or our understanding of what we're doing. Good. So now we're going to add on to this though. And I'm going to ask you to think about this rib way up here, just reaching, 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 reaching. Oh, do you feel the stretch? Feel the stretch? So maybe your hand comes right here. Maybe today your body is okay coming a little deeper. It doesn't matter. There's no gold star for doing it one way or another. We're all just going to the place that is working for our body today. Good. And then we'll turn our navel away from the floor. And you can bring your top hand to your hip or behind your head or up over the head. There we go. Yep, any of these work. We're all opening. And let's notice if the head is ahead of the body and bring it in line with your shoulder. Good. And then push through the bent legs, foot, and lift up. Oh, and turn both feet forward. These quadriceps we're talking about. Okay, so we're going to go the opposite direction. Now, here's the thing. We assume this side is going to be the same as the other side, right? Go in with curiosity because you really don't know. Am I tighter on one side than another? Do I have a spasmy place on one side or the other? So let's go in with as much curiosity as if we've never done this before. Go, and then turn the navel away. Good. Oh yeah, my body's remembering. Oh, I remember this one. Good. And then extend the top rib, extend the top rib. And the head is an extension of the spine, right? So we don't want the head to come ahead of the body or behind it. Drop down or lift up. Good. And you do what's right for your body in terms of where the arm comes. We're all opening up our heart. It's really good. Nice solid back legs, giving you a good foundation. Yeah. And then press up and out. And we'll turn both feet forward and toe heel together. And then step. Where do you feel things moving? Do you feel some blood flowing in places that wasn't before? Good, okay. So I saw somebody do this. I love that you did this. This is your body saying, I need to unwind something. And we should do that. Where does your body want to unwind? Okay, how are we done for time? Oh, golly, this class full. Okay, so we're not going to do triangle days. We're going to work instead on some balance. Okay, so from here, right where you are, we're just going to bring our weight onto one foot. Doesn't matter which one. And just peel the other heel. Now, if balance challenges you, if you've been having balance stuff, or if you, I know a lot of us when we have arthritis in our feet, ankles, or knees, a little support, having a wall or a chair, or even letting your bottom brush the wall works nicely. So I'm going to bring my weight on one foot and lift the other heel away from the floor without shifting. So I'm going to keep my mountain pose. And you can just come up onto the top of your toe. So it's sort of like having the finger on the wall, but your toe is on the floor, right? Now it will help you if you find one thing to fix your gaze on. It's called our focal point or drishti. And it helps if that thing isn't moving, so don't look at me. Good, and then maybe lift the knee as if you're balancing a quarter on. Okay, so here we go. And we'll sway, it's okay. That's how our body is developing neural pathways, because each time I sway to the left side of my foot, I'm getting feedback loop that helps me adjust for it, right? Okay, and now just turn the knee out a little. Oh, and maybe take your foot to the inside of your leg. So this is our tree pose, right? And so maybe your hands come together or they're out here for balance. And your foot can be anywhere on the supporting leg you like, but it helps not to push on the knee joint. Yeah, my mind's going crazy today. My tree is swaying like a big windstorm's happening. That's okay. So this is part of the process, right? And turn the leg forward and step into mountain. Now it might help to just walk around a little bit, sway, to roll out your feet or your ankles. So lots of things affect our balance. So be gracious with yourself if your balance was less than you wish it was today. My mind is because I'm on some medication that it makes me feel like I'm all hopped up. And I'm feeling it in my body. It's not just my mind, my body feels it too. If you didn't sleep, if you ate poorly last night, there's so many things, right? So be kind with yourself as you explore the other side now and just see, because chances are you took your stronger side first. All right, so one at a time, we'll just work here. Now, if you really are feeling challenged today, instead of taking your foot completely off the floor, maybe you work here today. Or you put your foot on a block, right? So that is a really nice way to work. This can be an excellent way to work. Right here, because I'm still having to make all the adjustments in this supporting foot. Play with the other side. Just see what happens on the other side today. And when you're ready, slowly come out. Well, so I thought that's usually my harder side, but I settled in. How did it go for you? Yeah? And so this is one of those things, balance practiced every day really is one of those places where you see a difference. So literally, I know someone who brushes her teeth doing this. And then when she's really working herself, she'll brush with the other hand. Oh man, really hard. And it's so funny, I can do it with my dominant hand, but if I switch my brush to the non-dominant hand, you'd think my foot was connected to the hand because it doesn't work. But this is the kind of thing where every day, if you practice your balance, it does get better. And the reason this is important, we have things that happen all through our life. You'll get dizzy, you'll slide on the ice. The more you create neural pathways for your body to make those little minor adjustments, the more automatic that becomes. Okay, so alrighty, before I come down to the floor, let me ask, what do you need? What does your body need today? Does it want a forward fold? A twist. Okay, so I was gonna do helicopters. So I've got my feet apart, my knees are nice and soft. And this is the first twist. And this is just really gentle. And it can be really small. It can be big. So if my arms are way up here, I've got more momentum. But it can be nice and small because your spine hasn't done a lot of twisting yet today, except for a little bit in our warrior series. So just see what your body wants. Okay, and then come to center and soften the knees and slide the hands down. And let's just do a little standing cat cow. So we're just gonna release this part of our back again. So we'll inhale and draw the belly back, bring the head forward.
Feel that stretch around the back body? Let's take a couple breaths stretching there. And then inhale, take the heart forward through the gateway of the arms, the shoulders down from your ears, draw the belly in, and reach the tailbone away from the floor and the head away from the floor, and feel a stretch across the front body. 1 or 2 breaths here. And then let your body tell you where it wants to go. Does it want to flow back and forth? Does it want to hold one longer than another? Slowly listening to your body and what it wants. And then when you're ready, come back to mountain pose. All right, and now my chest wants just a little bit more, so we're gonna do this. Inhale the hands together. Exhale the hands apart, and then make an angle. There we go. And just pulse back a couple times, and then reach back. Now notice if your chin started doing this forward, and bring the head back. So that's one way the body tries to get out of this stretch. And then inhale the hands together, exhale the opposite direction. And again, just pulse gently back and hold it. And then bring the hands in line with your shoulders and turn the palms up to the sky and bring the fingers down to the floor. Ooh, now reach through the heel of the hands. Oh, who feels that? And now spread your fingers wide. Breathe. Who else went? Okay. And then turn the palms down and we'll let the fingers reach to the floor. So now we're just stretching the tops of the wrists, the forearms, and reach the top of the wrist away. And then shake it out. Okay, excellent. How does that feel in your body? Kind of good. Yeah, that was good. Okay, so I'm going to invite you into a Shavasana. So it's the resting pose of your choosing. Some of us just like to lay on the floor with the hands and feet apart. A lot of us like legs up the wall or legs on a chair. Some of us like to lie on our sides. So it's the Shavasana that you know your body is going to relax in the most. So that's what we're on. And I have lots of blankets and blocks so I can put it behind your knees, because some of us, when we lay on our backs, that's really relaxing for our body. I'm going to. Here we go, because I do my nose. One sanitizer, or I forget. There we go. Okay, so let's find that place that allows us to release. And ask yourself, is my back comfortable? And if it's not quite comfortable, wave at me and I'll help you adjust. Mm. As you let your body let go and accept the support of whatever shape you've taken, I'm going to invite you back to what I call the happy place. That happy place is the place that you could go to in your mind, whether it's real or imagined. Often nature is a nice place for that. Maybe it's a combination of something that's real and imagined. And I'm gonna ask you to go to a place now. It just makes you feel safe and comfortable. Imagine yourself walking into that place. Maybe you're walking down a path to the beach or into the forest. Maybe it's your favorite room. Wherever that place is, I invite you to walk there now. And just stand, sit or lie down there. So last week we worked on building the sensory memory of a happy place. And we'll do that again together today. So I ask you to paint with all of your senses the most rich experience, looking at the colors around you. The way the light hits everything that you see. There's shadows. What are the shapes that surround you? How many colors do you see? Can you even begin to notice and name them? What do you hear in this place? Does the wind blow through? The leaves rattle? Are there little creatures scurrying around you? Maybe you're inside and you hear the heater kick on. Maybe there's a fireplace crackling or waves rolling on a beach. What is the temperature on your skin? Does it stay constant? Or does it change when you're in the shadows of a canopy or feeling the breeze? What does it feel like underneath you? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is there a variation to the texture beneath you? Are there any scents, smells that tickle your nose? Finally, will you notice what it feels like in your whole being existing in this place? How does your body feel? Your mind, breathing, Just being here for a moment. And as you breathe in, just imagine that sense of peace that you create for yourself in a place like this happy place, spreading to every cell of your being, every fiber, every space within you, filled with a sense of calm, relaxed energy, sense of readiness. You've touched your big pond, expanding beyond your little cup. Gradually, we'll take just a couple of deeper breaths as an invitation back into your physical experience. Awakening once more to what your body might need, how it might want to stretch or wiggle, as you eventually and gradually transition from your resting pose back into the room, back on your mat, surrounded by others who are sharing the same journey. There's a woo-hoo for you. Woo-hoo, you did it. At your own pace, gradually find your way back to the seat of your choosing. Remember how we started with that little check-in? Let's just check in once more. Noticing what your baseline is right in this moment. When you're ready. If you like, you could bring your hands together or on your front body. We'll just bow a moment, honoring that place that